We now come to the 10-minute rule motion. Sonia Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to require the Secretary of State to prepare and publish a report on access to finance for women in business, to make provision about the publication of data relating to access to finance for women in business and for connected purposes. The Access to Finance for Women's Bill seeks to confront one of the most urgent and entrenched inequalities in our economy.
The Honourable Lady has an important 10-minute rule motion, and there are far too many private conversations which is preventing me from hearing her comments, let alone the rest of the House. Sonia Kumar.
The Access to Finance for Women's Bill seeks to confront one of the most urgent and entrenched inequalities in our economy, the persistent barriers that women in business continue to face. Despite the entrepreneurial spirit and innovation demonstrated by women across the United Kingdom, they remain significantly understated among recipients of capital and public financial support. The evidence is stark. In 2024, just 2% of UK equity investment went to female entrepreneurs, and a decline from the previous year. Over 80% of venture capital funding is allocated to male-dominated businesses, despite research confirming that women-led businesses deliver, on average, a 35% better return on investment. Madam Deputy Speaker, that's 35%. Yet women typically start businesses with 53% less capital than men, and the loans to receive, on average, are 68% smaller. Approval ratings for funding are lower, and too often women must pitch to all male investment panels. Evidence from early-stage equity markets show that male investors express less interest in female founders, while female investors are more likely to back them. For black female entrepreneurs, the challenge is even greater. Between 2009 and 2019, a mere 0.02% of venture capital funding went to black women. And this is not just a disparity issue, it's an economic one. The 2019 Rose Review estimated that $250 billion could be unlocked to the UK's economy if women were supported to start and scale businesses at the same rate as men. Adjusted for inflation, that figure now stands at a staggering $300 billion. And that is the scale of opportunity we are failing to unlock. Even in challenging economic circumstances, women in my constituency of Dudley continue to lead the way against the odds. Iron and Velvet, for example, the UK's only manufacturer of eco-friendly, water-soluble cleaning sachets, is headed by a truly inspirational woman. Deborah MacDonald, CEO, told me investors frequently undervalue or question the ambition of female leaders. According to the Black Country Chamber of Commerce, just 20% of members' companies are led by women, and outside London, such businesses are even rarer. We can't allow this to persist. Madam Deputy Speaker, that injustice goes beyond numbers. It holds back potential in every community, from the West Midlands to every region of our country. And I welcome the UK Government's recent commitment of £400 million to support underrepresented fund managers, and the doubling of its investment in female-led venture capital funds to £100 million through the Invest in Women's Task Force. Yet when compared to our international peers, the UK is simply losing ground. The United States of America stands out globally as the leading country for women-led businesses in 2025. Over the past 2 decades, female-owned businesses in the US have grown dramatically, with a 100% increase. Between 2019 and 2023, these businesses contributed a whopping 1.4 million new jobs and generating $500 billion in revenue. Meanwhile, in Sweden and Poland are surpassing the UK with more targeted strategies to improve women's access to finance. In Sweden, women now receive 4.6% of all venture capital funding allocated to female-only founded businesses, outpacing the UK's rate. Poland ranks first in the EU and the 5th worldwide for female entrepreneurship. And this progress in these countries is no coincidence. It reflects deliberate and sustained efforts to empower women in business. Madam Deputy Speaker, I have a vision for this country where prosperity has no barriers and every individual has the potential to fulfil their potential. A nation where access to finance is not a privilege, but it's a right. Where women entrepreneurs, small business owners and innovators from every background can turn their ideas into action. This is about fairness and ambition and unlocking the full promise of our people so that no one is held back simply because of who they are or where they come from. So in this bill, I propose 3 core measures backed by experts to begin dismantling these barriers. The first pillar, mandating transparency and accountability within financial institutions. The British Business Bank would lead this transformation to ensure genuine equity in access to finance. Banks, venture capital firms and public funding bodies were required to publish gender disaggregated lending data, review their practice on bias and embed anti-discrimination measures across every stage of investment and loan assessment. For too long, a lack of data has hidden the barriers for women entrepreneurship. The measures bring these inequalities into light. By exposing where decisions fall short of equity, institutions will be compelled to act not out of obligation, but because inclusion strengthens our economy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It ensures capital is allocated on potential and performance are not prejudiced. As Becky Cooper, a pioneering woman in business, co-founder of Lumino, told me, sunshine is the best disinfectant. Second, the bill directs the British Business Bank and related government-backed schemes to expand their outreach and set measurable targets. At least 30% of all finance provided should support female-led businesses, and the percentage of equity finance for female entrepreneurs must increase to 2% by 10% by 2030. This reflects a key recommendation from the Women's and Equalities Committee, a groundbreaking report on female entrepreneurship. Thirdly, this bill requires the Secretary of State to publish and prepare a report on access to finance. Madam Deputy Speaker, I've already laid out the inequalities that exist in this area, but mandating the Secretary of State produce this report is essential for transparency, accountability and progress. Without clear reporting this bill is calling for, the scale of inequality will remain hidden. From this report, we can begin to develop other policies to unlock investment for women and other disadvantaged groups. Finally, bridging the gap between men and women in finance. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not just a bill for women. It's a bill for our economy, our communities and our collective future. It is a bill that recognises that fairness and prosperity goes hand in hand. It's a bill that will remove barriers for women for occupational participation and will benefit from increased innovation, job creation, to stronger families and a more resilient society. This is a critical moment. Unlocking £310 billion of growth by investing in female-led businesses is not just the right thing to do, it's smart economics. Empowering women and women's businesses is among the most effective investment we can make as a nation. This bill is about fixing the system, not fixing women.
The question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Liam Byrne, Sarah Edwards, John Cooper, Dan Aldridge, Grinja Singh Josan, John Slinger, James Asser, Rachel Taylor, Matt Weston, Polly Wellington and myself.
Sonia Kumar.
access to finance for women in business.
Second reading what day?
28th November 2025.
28th of November 2025.